Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Hustle and Honey podcast, where we explore the sweetness, struggle, and success of running your own business. We're your co-hosts, Jen, Meesh, and Amber. Today, Amber and I are talking to Dominique of Agave. Dom is one of the best wedding and proposal planners in Phoenix, Arizona. She specializes in unique and stylish custom weddings and proposal services. We love her vibe, her attention to perfection, and could chat with her for hours about the skills and systems necessary for scaling and running a small business. We hope you all learn buckets from the information we share today. And honestly, we're going to need a book club after we get through all the suggested reads from Dom and our other guests. And big news from Meesh and I, we are going to be hosting our all-women's wilderness retreat in May. So keep an eye out for all those details coming soon. If you're interested in sharing a space with like-minded, successful women in the wild, we got you. We cannot wait. But until then, here's our conversation with Dominique.
Hi, ladies.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
You look so cozy in your sweater.
Thank you. I am always cold. It's just something to know about me. Always. And it's fucking cold out lately.
Yep.
It is.
We are gonna go to Flagstaff literally right when we're done with this call. So we're gonna be even colder.
Is it snowing?
You can't see. You won't be able to see both of our faces later, but pure shock.
Yeah. Are you guys going for work or just for fun?
Just for fun.
Oh, nice. So are you going like skiing, snowboarding, or just to hang out?
No, our daughter is 3.5, so just playing in the snow, making snowmen. Snow angels is her favorite. So
my kids have been dying to go to the snow, which I like need to find a time where I have space to take them, and I know there's going to be snow because I'm like they want to play in it so bad. We went to Canada this year, and it was right before their snowy season, and they were very angry that they couldn't play in the snow. I'm like, boys, and they're boys. They want to like roll in it and eat it, and I'm sure pee in it or something. But that's what they want to do.
Write their names,
Yeah, my daughter
Literally.
cried last time we were in the snow. She was like, "This is awful, and I hate it." And I was like, "Oh, a girl after my own heart."
I can only handle it for like maybe 30 minutes to an hour at a time, and then I'm done.
Yeah, and then I'm done. I want my hot cocoa, and I'm done.
Literally. How are you, ladies? How's your season going?
It's good.
Jen, you can go first.
No, I feel like it's good. I mean, I do a lot of things, right? So I do photo, but then I also do henna, and I do just like art and all sorts of things. So when it's a little slower for photo land, I'm in my other realms. And it has been quite busy in art land lately. So that's
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's almost back into photo season.
Almost.
It is.
Yeah.
I have a pretty slow year coming up, so I'm just like marketing, all of the marketing, like
Yep.
do all of the marketing, all of the things.
All the marketing.
I was talking to my team about that too, because I think this is going to be a lull year for everybody. And I think that 2025 is going to, and so on, are going to be back into the normal grind plus extras. Because I think I read a study somewhere that was saying that after 2024 introduces all the couples that met after COVID, where we had that lull because people weren't dating during COVID or like going out on dates and building relationships because everyone was stuck inside. So 2024 is that like lull of a season of not really having weddings because no one was really dating. And then it's supposed to pick up like crazy from all the things that I've been reading.
Yeah.
Which I was like, let me get my ducks in a row now. And so, and all my ducklings, my ducks and my ducklings. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm definitely ready to scale. I think that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, well, with that, we can officially like get into all of like the nitty gritty of the things.
Yay.
Yeah. So I like to I'll obviously introduce you on the back end of things, but I would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of like tell all the listeners who you are, what you do, kind of all your things.
Cool. So my name's Dominique. Mattessino is my last name. I own Agave, which is a wedding and proposal planning company. We specifically specialize in weddings and proposals. We consider ourselves your no bullshit best friends, because that's really what it entails to be your wedding planner, and that's what we embody. And so whatever support that looks like is us in all different levels.
I love that.
Yes.
Cool. Well, welcome. Okay, so I guess the information that like we want to get from you is, you kind of already touched on it with like your industry, your knowledge of the industry, but we're trying to kind of just a variety of business owners a space so they can get information on like scaling a business, or kind of where you started and where you're going, that kind of thing. So I'd love to hear a little bit of like your why and how you started at Agave, and just maybe start there.
Oh, geez. Yes. So I was at a place in my life about 3 years ago where I was coming out of another business venture. And I owned a piece of a marketing agency. So I had a partner in that. And we helped people, nonprofits, B Corps, to create sales funnels, fundraisers, essentially to fundraise, right? Like we helped them bring in more sales. That's really what we did. Create systems, the whole nine. So my background is in a lot of marketing and business, just in general. I used to help businesses thrive and create systems so they can sustainably grow and scale. So that's honestly my expertise. And then me and my business partner, who's honestly one of my best friends, came to a point in the business where he wanted to take it in one direction and I wasn't all the way on board. So I just looked at him and I was like, why don't you just run with this? And I'm going to go figure out what I want to do. And that gave me a time to just sit in it and sit with myself and being like, what do I absolutely love doing? I don't know exactly what industry, but what tasks do I love doing, like day in and day out? What are things that come naturally to me? What gives me flexibility to be a mom? Because that comes first in my life. Mom is top of the list. With my two boys. And then I ended up starting to homeschool them. So I also do that. So that wasn't part of the plan initially 3 years ago, but it ended up on our plate. And so I talked to my partner and was like, I don't know what I want to do. And he was like, I think you should get into events, because it was part of what I did with the marketing agency is I was help them fundraise and throw galas and do events. And I've thrown every party and every wedding before I was a wedding planner for everyone in my family. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I should. And then I did my research, because I'm very big into research. If I am not prepared, I will not. I am impulsive, but it's a prepared impulsive. And I sat down. I kind of just like brain dumped on what it would look like if I did own a wedding planning company. And after I did that, it literally sunk in and was like, okay, I have no choice. Like I need to do this. And that's what I did. That was my start. I think my why was, I can never be an employee. I have to own my own company. I cannot work for corporate America. I cannot. And I did that route for a very long time. And I was never a good employee. I actually think I was a great employee, but also like pissed them off, because I would be like, why aren't you doing better, to like everyone? And they would get very angry at me. Because I'd be like, well, why are you doing it this way? There's not a system for that. Like, and I would question everything. I would push everybody. And that's just not the environment for corporate America. They just want you to do your job and be happy about it. And that's not where I thrived. So the entrepreneurial journey just felt right to me. It's not made for everybody, as I'm sure you know, especially with this podcast, but it's definitely made for me. I have the grit, I have the accountability, I have the motivation. And then once I put the structure of a wedding planning company on paper, I was like, game over. Agave exists. I registered it that night, and I think I built my website maybe a week later. And then I just ran. I didn't have necessarily wedding planning experience prior to that. I mentored and helped out a few other planners, and I would quote unquote say that was kind of like interning, but not really. I've also been in hospitality my whole life. I've always bartended on the side, or I was a mixologist for like 10 years. So I had an in the industry of event planning in general, because I was usually at the events anyway on the weekends, bartending them. So I was like, you know what? I really love this space. I love helping people. And I'm great at planning. So I ran with it. And that's how Soul Agave was born.
Oh my God, I love that. There's like so much there to unpack. I'm like taking notes.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I have a crazy story.
Do you know your human design by chance?
I do. I am. I know I'm a 2/4.
Okay.
I know. I don't remember. I would have to pull up my chart again. I'm not the biggest in. I haven't been following human design as long as I've been following like Enneagram and my astrology signs.
Right.
And I also human design is also the generator, manifest generator, and those ones too, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm a manifest generator. I know that for damn sure. And I know one of my profiles is a 2/4, and I think that's really all of what I remember about the full profile. But I align with manifest generator like wholeheartedly. Like I love to run in like 10 different directions at the same time, and nobody understands why I'm doing it or what is intriguing me to do so. But I love it. I love to try a million things. I like to see what sticks. I like to drop things if they don't work. I'm very good at dabbling.
Yeah. Well, when you were like telling me about how your partner was the one to tell you like, oh, you should try this or you should do that. It's like very much a, I know that that's for me, one of my like lines, like I'm a projector, but I'm supposed to wait for the invitation. And so in all of my businesses, it's all come from people just kind of like, oh, you should do this. And then me like sitting with that and thinking like, well, do I enjoy this enough to like turn this into a business?
Right.
And so that's really interesting. I like that part of your story. And then also just like, I have this theory that like successful entrepreneurs are like the worst employees because are just like, we can just do this better. And like you said, it's like also there's not a system. So you like look at something and
that
like,
might be a fact.
But like, why are you guys doing it this way? This is the least organized. Like you need some lists over here. You need some processes over here. And like, no, they don't like being called out for that. So
100%. Well, and when there's a wheel already spinning in the corporate America space, they don't like disruptions. And I am a disruptor. And that's what a manifest generator is. Like I create my own pathways, I think is what they like. It's a better way to explain it, or how they explain it is I can see all of the paths laid out, and then I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to go on this one. And just kidding, I'm going to go this way. And then I create my own path, and no matter what I'm doing, because I just soak in so much from all of everything. And then I'm like, okay, this is where I'm gonna run. And sometimes that's pulling in 10 different other paths. Sometimes that's creating my own. So to be fair, me sitting down with Ryan and him telling me that I should do this is a very rare occurrence for us, because I usually don't ask for help or opinions. I usually don't sit down and think about things, but it was like a point in my life where I was like, this is a big turning point. This isn't like a small little decision that I can just run with and maybe drop one day. It wasn't like I was trying out a new product or a new offer, or it was like a total different career change. And so I sat down and was like laying out all of my options, seeing if I wanted to learn something completely new, because I am down to start from scratch always. Like that doesn't scare me. I love to learn things, and I have this like toxic trait that I think it can be good at anything. And so I'm like, screw it, let's go. But at that time in my life, Ryan was getting very angry at me that I wasn't pausing enough. And so I paused long enough, brought him into the conversation, and then he had a great idea. And I was like, that's it, we're going. So it's nice when I collaborate sometimes.
On the occasion.
Yeah. Yeah. Now in my day-to-day job, I can collaborate, but with like, you know, what you want to do with your own life, like, I don't want somebody telling me that. Like, it's just, I will take all the advice. I will take all of your opinions, but at the end of the day, I have to be the one to make that decision.
I feel that strongly.
I'm like, go ahead, try to tell me what to do. Go ahead, try.
Yeah. I often feel like when people tell me like it's such a fine line because I do, like I said, I respond well when people like are like, you should do this. But if they tell me like I can't do something or I shouldn't do something, it's like, oh, game over. Now I have to do it. I have to do it better than anyone has ever done it, even if I don't enjoy it. So I've really had to slow down in that respect and be like, okay, am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because someone told me I couldn't and I have to prove them wrong? So,
but sometimes that's a push you need. I mean, I know so many people that have built successful companies just off of the back that they wanted to prove somebody wrong. And that's a great initial motivator. I would say that I don't think it sustains you long term, but I do think it's a good way to get people started. I think the initial push to start a business or initial push to become an entrepreneur kind of has to be fueled by some against the grain motivation, because society tells you should be an employee. So you are going against the grain owning your own company in general. So you kind of need that random piece of motivation. I don't think it sustains you long term until you get into the thick of owning a business and then you find out that you hate doing 9 out of the 8 things or 9 out of the 10 things you have to do. And that's the tricky part is keeping the motivation.
Yes. Well, they say, what is it? 80% of new businesses fail within the first 5 years or something. Yeah. So like you start with this, like, okay, I'm going to disrupt something. I'm going to go against the grain, whatever. But then if you don't find that way to like change your why and like regain that motivation, like you're just not going to do it anymore. It's not worth it. Like,
it's a struggle and it's not easy. So like if you don't consistently remind yourself of why you're doing it and consistently keep yourself motivated or held accountable, sometimes it's not even motivation. Sometimes it's like, I just need to hold myself accountable, even though I hate doing this. Writing or doing taxes is one of the things I absolutely hate doing, but I'm like, I have to do it. I have to bookkeep. I have to make sure that the government doesn't come and take everything that I have. You know what I mean? Like I hate doing that. And as part of business, that's not fun, but you have to hold yourself accountable. And I think that your why is definitely a huge motivator. And I think over time, it just deepens. I don't think that it really ever changes, but I think it widens and deepens of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I feel like the why is definitely, that's why I like to kind of start there, because I feel like that is the only thing that motivates you. And if you have enough motivation, you will be able to do anything. It will pull you through the taxes. It will pull you through the spreadsheets. It will get you through that if you absolutely love what you do and you have a passion for why you're doing it. But yeah, if it's just out of spite, like it's not going to carry you through the difficult times.
It might be a nice little jab feeling. I love that feeling to prove people wrong.
And it does. It feels good to be like, it feels good to be strong, and it feels good to show that you can accomplish hard things. And I think that's really important. But yeah, not long term. Get tired.
Yeah. Well, and then you're serving other people. You're not serving yourself. And when you're an entrepreneur, your why has to be like solely based around you and what your experience is. And if it's solely based on other people, like there's cracks in your why.
Yes. With that, what would you say is the most, like the sweetest part of owning your own business, or what's the sweetest aspect working for yourself kind of in there?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I have so many.
Tell us them all.
Myself. I love the flexibility. I love, and obviously that's a simple way of saying it. Your business is going to require your attention almost all the time, but it's allows me to choose when I want to work on it. And I really love that aspect. I love to be able to, for my industry, to sit and work from, I don't know, 9 at night to 2 in the morning when I'm feeling creative and I have the opportunity to. And with a lot of creatives, it comes in waves. And when you're feeling that piece of creativity, you don't let it run away. You kind of hone in. And if it comes in the middle of the night, then you take advantage of it. And I'm trying to read this book right now to harness your creativity and have a control on it. That's just a side piece. But I'm trying to get better at when I can like pull my creativity out and get out of my logistical brain. But the flexibility of one, like I said, I'm a mom, I homeschool my kids. So that gets done every day before I even start anything business. Like I honestly, right before I came on here, we just finished school, like almost momentarily before we hopped on here. But that's why I start my meetings at a certain time during the day, so that I could get schoolwork done in the morning and my kids can play Fortnite or whatever they're going to do for the rest of the day. They get to determine that. But that flexibility for my lifestyle is unmatched. Ryan also owns his own company, so his schedule is always fluctuating and all over the place. So to then be able to support him if he needs help and vice versa. If I'm not on site, he can be home. And so I love the fact that both of us are entrepreneurs and both of us have the flexibility to create the life that we want.
So I want to dive into that a little more because
I'm so triggered. I'm like, wait, you both have to ride this entrepreneur wave? Okay, tell us more.
So me and my husband are in the same situation. He is an entrepreneur. I own my own business. So like we are very, we're riding the same wave. We don't have like a solid income with insurance and like whatever to fall back on. And I don't think there's a lot, like maybe it's becoming more popular, but like most of the time, especially like in the wedding space, like whoever owns their wedding business, like usually has somebody else to fall back on that has like a full-time job and whatnot.
Yep.
So like being like, oh no, we're actually both like doing this and we both have to like grind and figure out our schedule and all of that. It's like really interesting. So I think we should dive into that a little more because I think it's not as common like to have both of you doing that,
Totally. And sometimes it's utter chaos. But I thrive in chaos. I feel like that should be my tagline for my personal brand is like thriving in chaos, because if it's not chaotic enough, I will make it more chaotic because I just thrive in chaos. Ryan does not. So that poor soul is just riding the wave that I create. But he's owned his company much longer than I have. And he shares responsibility in that company with 2 of his other brothers. So he's not alone in his journey of that company. And we actually moved to Arizona 12 years ago for him to specifically start that. And so he's 12 years into his company. So I will say he's a lot more stable and routine. And there isn't as much risk as in the first 5 years of owning a business. It's rocky and it's up and down, and it's meant to be. But he's in I don't want to say it's easier. I don't know the right word, but he's in a more comfortable place for sure. Which allows me the flexibility, like you said, to quote unquote rely on someone that's more stable. So it is kind of like the same situation, but the demands of each other are still very high because no matter no matter what part of your journey of owning a business, it still demands a lot of you. So Ryan and I are both extremely busy at all times, but we absolutely love it. And I don't think I would change it for the world. It is a risky place to be in, but I'm a risk taker. Like at my core, he's really not, honestly. He's like very conservative. And I'm like, oh no, like, let's just go start this new thing tomorrow. And who cares if it fails? Like we'll figure it out.
I was just this morning actually like trying to convince my husband to start his own business. I was like, it seems like maybe you should just like have your own business. And he was like, that seems like a lot. I see you and I think that might be a lot of work. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's such a reward. It totally pays off. It's just pretend all the stressful things I said never happened. You'll get through them. It'll be fine. And he was like, I think I'm just going to keep working for other people. So, I mean, everybody has their own role, but I think that there is, I think that there is so much in owning your own business, like the flexibility, like that to me is, I think, we're all moms. So it's very, and a lot of the people that I've talked to are moms. And so it's so interesting to me in that aspect too. Like a lot of people solve that problem of like, I need to have income and this society doesn't allow us to do it in a way that's healthy.
Mompreneurs, man.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, I'm going to just start this and it's going to provide for my family and I'm going to do it my way because I can take care of my kids too. And I think that that is really relevant and important. And yeah.
I mean, that's a whole ass tangent of how to take care of your kids and what the world looks like right now. I feel like the fact that moms have to work to survive is a conversation in and of itself, right? I don't think there's a lot of opportunity in the world that allow the traditional sense of men to work and women to not. I don't think society even really allows you to do that with how expensive things are. And if you want to create a lifestyle for your kid that's probably better than what you had, it seems like we all have to work in order to get that. And that's the goal, right? Is to like give your kids a better life than what you had. I mean, at the core of it, I feel like all of us strive to do that in some way, shape, or form. But the world is expensive. We don't really have a choice. My favorite thing to see with moms is where they take like a hobby and turn it into a side hustle, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, this is a real ass business, and then they like turn it into like, I love seeing those stories and I love helping other moms do that too. Like there are so many friends of mine that'll call me and be like, Dom, I'm thinking about doing this, and I'm like, all right, let's just hop on a Zoom and I'll walk you through how to like get started or what you need or whatever the case may be. I am really big on supporting, no matter who it is, but community of, if you think you can handle running your own company, I highly recommend you starting. And if it doesn't end up working out, those jobs are not going anywhere. Like you can always go back. You can always get a part-time job to get you through whatever lull you're doing in your business. And that's not something to be ashamed of. I think I just stopped picking up shifts bartending, but for the longest time when I was first starting Solo Agave, I was doing I was bartending probably like 3 or 4 times a week still, because I just wanted to have cash that I could use to pay for things in my personal life or with the kids. And then everything I was earning from Solo Agave was going straight back into it, because in the beginning, when you're starting from nothing, you're starting from nothing. So you got to pull money out of your ass any way you can.
Yes, for sure. I was still working my like corporate 40-hour-a-week job when I started my photography business. And then like after a couple of years, it got to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm not making quite enough to like, and it wasn't even replacing my income, just like to like get by, you know. I was like, okay, I'm not making quite enough to do that with just the photography. So I ended up saving up money, cashing out a 401k, which you're not supposed to do, but I did it anyways.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And so like that gave me like a 6-month buffer to be like, okay, like if I can make it happen, like I got 6 months, like let me like focus 100% on the photography. And if I can make it happen, like if I can just get myself that little extra like bump from where I was to where I could like replace that income, like survive on just photography. And it worked, obviously, because I am here, but
you're like, I made it.
I did it.
Yeah, it's something to be very proud of. And that's a big risk to take. I mean, you're putting all of your eggs in your basket, not somebody else's. You're putting them all in your own. And you're saying, I'm taking full and sole responsibility of this succeeding or failing. And that's really what entrepreneurship is, right? It's wild. It's a wild journey, but I love it. I like the ups. I don't say I love the downs, but I don't mind them at all.
It definitely took me a solid like I feel like just within this last year, and I've been doing, so I kind of have a different path than starting just my business, right? Like I still teach part-time. Like I still keep these little tiny little projects that are consistent income. And so I still have those as well. And like, it just is so interesting because I feel like it just, hold on, let me center myself. I'm like, let me go on a tangent.
Go ahead. I'll listen.
Well, I just feel like it's so interesting that whole process, because I just within this last year have finally understood like the cycles. And it just took me so long to like be comfortable with that in between, in that space of like, no, you are going to feel like nothing's happening for this tiny 1 week, 2 days. Like it's not your whole month, but in that moment, it feels like it's your whole month. When you're like, wait, I didn't have any inquiries, or I didn't have any income today. And it's been 2 or 3 days. And that feels really scary because you're used to that flow.
Relying on it.
Yeah, you're relying on it. And there's a little pause there. And only within the past, I would say literally year, I finally was like, oh, this is normal. This is actually normal, and it's okay, and it's safe. And I do have a little bit here, so I'm going to be okay, and it's going to carry me through. But I mean, really, it took me, I mean, I've been doing like this, like side projects and businesses and things for almost 10, 15 years before I was like, oh, it's actually safe for you to actually just go one week without anything happening. And if you think of like the moon phases, and we can get super woo, you like do need a rest phase, you know, you need a break.
I mean, even if you go into the female cycle, right? Like your period week is a rest week. And so I don't know if you've ever read the book called Do Less by Kate Northrup, but she is an expert of syncing your cycle to your business. So she will help you map out and plan what activities to do during what week of your cycle, so that you're not going against the grain of your own circadian rhythm. And so I've learned a lot through that. And I think there's a lot of pressure when you're an entrepreneur, obviously from a lot of different directions, but I think the biggest pressure is from myself. And so because I'm so hard on myself, like, and I don't know if everybody is, but I'm massively hard on myself. And so when I get into, you know, that rest period, or the lull of me not wanting to do anything, and I'm not getting anything done, or something's not requiring my attention enough, I get so mad at myself. And I'm like, why am I not doing enough? Why am I not pushing harder? And then I have to remind myself, like, no, girl, you need to chill the hell out, and you need to rest once in a while. Like calm down. Like, it's okay to breathe, and it's okay to sit on the couch and do nothing if you don't feel like it, or just dive into a book when you feel like it. And honestly, last week I had one of these periods, and then I spent the weekend like making up for my lack of getting things done. But I spent probably 2 days straight just diving into my ancestry. I don't know why it sparked me to do that, but that's what, being a manifest generator, I have to just go down the path that things take me. And so I can't ignore that. And so I've had to learn about myself that, like, it's okay for me to go on a little bit of a tangent as long as I make my way back. And as long as what I've learned for myself is, if I have a good task manager, and I at least have all the tasks that I need to get done written down, if I stray for a moment, I know exactly where I need to go back to. And so it allows me to kind of have that like tug and pull of, go ahead, if something interests you, like, go figure out why it's interesting you right now.
Yes.
I love doing that.
And like, you implemented a system that works for you, and like, you figured out what that is, and like, you did it. My issue currently is that I'll put a system in place and it'll work for like 3 months, and then I don't touch it again, and I have to like figure out something different. So that's where I'm always at. Yeah, wave your finger at me. You know exactly.
But are the systems that you're like, are they things that require your attention consistently, or just periodically?
So like, I like doing a paper planner, and like I color code it and make it look all nice, and I put my stuff in there, and I'll look at it and do it for like, I don't know, 3 months, and then I'll just like never look at it again, even though it has all of my tasks in there. I'm just like, no, can't be bothered. I'm gonna go pull out this other notebook that has nothing in it and like try something completely different for whatever reason.
I know the reason.
But tell me. I mean, y'all know each other. So
I feel like that's a very ADHD thing. And I feel like that's very much why I also thrive in the chaos, because my brain needs that constant stimulation of something new. And that is why I jump between tasks a lot. I get distracted easily, but I do always come back to my list. That's the thing that I found works for me, is that if I have a list that I know I need to get these things done, I can go down whatever rabbit hole, work on whatever project, and come back to it, and it's there. If I don't have a list or like my digital planner with all of my information saved of what's happening that day, like I would never remember anything. So I've trained myself in those two things, to have my list and to have my dates. Like that's it. But yeah, I have like 16 notebooks. And so when the thoughts come in, I just grab the closest one.
They're all over the place. I think I have like 19. Every time I'm on a new call, I get a new piece of paper. So like there's papers everywhere. But I will say, if I take whatever is on paper and immediately after the call, put it in somewhere digital, like with a task to do, as long as I immediately do that after a call, I'm squared away, because I'm like, okay, it's settled somewhere and I'll get to it when I need to. But I think that, to your point, every single one of us have to find a now I don't want to say foolproof, but a simple system that we can't differ from. And so when I think of your planner, in my head, I think it's just too elaborate. Like it's just a lot to do all the time. And so I'm just like, but in my brain, I'm like, oh no, I would love a color-coded planner that I want to write out 24/7. But I'm like, well, what if I forget it? What if I lose it? What if my dog eats it, because he eats freaking everything? You know what I mean? I'm like, no, it has to live digitally. And so I still do all the manual paper stuff, but I've learned over the years that if I don't immediately copy it right over, and that seems to be like a little mini win for me, because I'm like, it exists somewhere and I can access it on my phone, my computer, or whatever, on the cloud, anywhere. And then all my random piece of papers that are color coded, I have like 19 different pens. And every time I'm on a new call, I get a new pen color. They go missing. I don't know where they go, who eats them. I don't know if I shred them. I don't know what, but those papers go missing constantly. The other trick that I have, and all of my clients know this, is I record every single interaction. I record it, one, to see how I'm communicating, to see in ways that I need to be better on being more clear, because I think clarity is huge, especially in the wedding world, with expectations, like setting proper expectations. Especially as my job as a wedding planner, I have to set expectations not just for my role, but almost every other vendor's role, so that they understand what it's going to be like to work with everyone. I hope that all of the vendors, when they get on these sales calls or when they introduce themselves, they're also doing the same thing. But if I'm not setting proper expectations of what it looks like getting on a new phone call with a new vendor, that I'm not doing my job right. So I think, one, I'm checking for clarity and seeing ways that I can be better. Two, I use an AI note taker that transcribes every single call, so that if I have a question about like, oh, what linen color did they say they wanted, I don't have to call them again and figure it out. I just go back and I put in the word linen, and it brings me right to that point of the conversation, and I can see what they said. And then the third reason I record them is so that my team, now that we're scaling, can see how I do things, how I am explaining things. So it's really like a training thing. They love to watch me say what I say and how I do what I do, so that eventually they can take on some of the tasks that I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, my thought also, when you said that with expansion, like if you do expand to the point where you have like other people doing like lead planning under you, like they can record their call, and then like you can use that to check in on them as well. And
and we do, and that's exactly what I do. And so if I can't make a call, I'm just like, hey, make sure it's the recording turned on, and then it goes to our company recording account. And once in a while, I'll pop in there and just take a peek at what they're talking about, how they're communicating, how the clients are receiving it. And then obviously I tell all my girls, like, I'll pop in and out of things, and they're okay with it. Most of the time they enjoy me being there anyway, because I will we'll tag team off of each other. So it's easier to get things done, or quicker, I would say, when there's, you get 2 planners on the call versus 1. But no, it's been working really, really well. And I've been able to put real SOPs in place to say, hey, when you're going on a sales call, these are the 6 bullet points that you should at least be hitting in your own way. Or if you're going on a call and talking about catering, make sure you're bringing up these topics. It shows you the routine things that you're doing, so you can create systems and you can create SOPs and you can create a training system that anyone you hire can hop into and fulfill the role. Because I don't like having to re-explain myself multiple times. It's a pet peeve of mine. So I'm like, I'll record a video, I'll record a how-to, even for my clients. Like if they're using a website like the Knot and they're like, oh, I don't know how to add an extra person on my guest list. I don't know. They don't know how to use technology. I'll just create a little how-to video. I'll put it in my catalog. So the next time somebody asks me about that, I'm like, nope, here you go. It's good to go. I don't have to redo that again. So we kind of just have a catalog of random videos of how to do things, which is kind of nice. So yeah, and then I don't have to leave my house, which is even better.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important to have processes like that. And I think that that's something that a lot of small businesses they don't catch on to right away. But it's like, if you've done it once, you've done it 1,000 times. So as soon as someone asks you to do something, I started doing that too. People ask me how to do things. I'm like, let me just take a quick video and save it. But I'm curious, what's your storage procedure for that? Do you like let it live on like the Dropbox? Like how do you kind of manage all your videos?
So I use Loom to record them. Not sure if you're familiar with Loom. Loom is my favorite. I've been using them for years. I have folders in Loom right now that kind of catalog all the different things. So it'll be like personal client videos. It'll be like training. It'll be sales. They kind of go all over the place. In Loom, they have like different folders. I'm a folder queen. If things are not in folders and like dropped into a folder, like even my inbox, like if there's not less than 50 emails in my inbox and they're not put into folders, I have so many clients and so many damn emails from every single one of them. If it's not organized, I don't know how you would survive, especially in my role. I'm like, every wedding I have like 15 vendors I'm responsible for communicating with. So it's not just the client information that I have to categorize. And so I have numerous ridiculous folders that have subfolders. I would say that my naming convention, or like my naming system, makes a lot of sense. I think if you think about how you want to name things, it helps people find the information without bugging you. That makes sense.
Totally.
That's my favorite. So yeah, they live in Loom. When my Zoom calls are done recording, I'll pull them out. We use Asana right now to task manage. So sometimes I'll put them into Asana for people to watch and just assign them that task to be like, okay, go and watch this and let me know your thoughts. But yeah, that's how we operate, is Loom, Zoom, and Asana.
Yeah.
I also have been playing around recently with a new one called Scribe, where like it records what you're doing, but then it breaks it down into like bullet points with screenshots. And so it's like they can go like step by step, like, oh, okay, I go to this step, I go to that step. So I mean, it kind of reminds me of like how to blog posts, or
like YouTube chapters, you know what I mean, where like it breaks out the content for you. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And so like I like that because it's like, okay, I have this video that you can watch, but also here's this like step by step if you don't want to watch the video, or if you're like better with like consuming information this way. Because me personally, I'm not a video girly unless I like need to like watch you literally do something like maybe plumbing. Like I need to like see like what's actually happening. But if it's like computer stuff, I'm like, no, just like give me the steps. I don't want to watch your 10-minute video on this. So I really like using that too, because then I feel like I'm like, okay, here, like which one works better for you, and go from there.
Same with me, and even with clients, like every couple we take on likes to do things in different ways, right? Some of them don't like getting on Zooms. They only want to meet in person. Some of them hate videos that I send, but they like voice texts when I text them. So like It's honestly the same. Like every time I meet a new couple, I have to learn about them and how they obtain the information. I'm not saying I change who I am and how I communicate for everybody, but if I'm not getting through to someone and I know that they prefer a certain level of communication, or they just won't respond unless I have this communication, because that's very common, especially with our couples. Our couples are very busy humans. Most of our clientele run busy lives. They're busy on their own. They're pretty successful in that sense. For some reason we attract, and I absolutely love it, is just other A-type individuals, because I thrive in that space. And so if they're also running in their lanes and they're hiring a wedding planner for a reason, like I try to fit into the crevices of what their life looks like, right? And we're big on that. We're like, the more you tell us your situation, the more you let us in, the more you communicate to us what you do and don't like, the better we can do our job. And I tell people that all the time. I get a lot of questions that are like, how do we get the most of your service? Or how do we make sure we're getting the most out of working with you? And I'm like, dude, just be honest and let us in. I go, if I'm asking you a ridiculous question, answer it into as deep as you allow me to go. The more vulnerable you can be with me, the more I can get in your head, the more I can execute on your behalf. And I can think like you. At the end of the day, I'm planning other people's weddings, not mine. So I have to know what you like. I have to know what you don't like. I have to know what your absolute no's are. You know what I mean? Like I have to know you. So if you're not going to let me get to know you, then I'm only going off what you give me. So that's my biggest piece with my clients, is just like, let me in.
Yeah.
Literally.
Okay. I have 2 more questions for you before we wrap up today. Do you have anything specific, Amber, before I jump in with my last 2?
No, go. You go.
Okay. So one thing we like to ask everyone is who you are looking up to, either in your industry or that you're learning from. So, yeah.
I love this question. Right now I have just bought into Megan Co's luxury wedding planning mentorship. So I am really, really, really big on mentors, and I like pop in and out of them. So I am really good at, one, pay your mentors, people. Just saying. Like, just pay them for the information they're giving you. So whether they have a program or a course, like 99% of the time it's worth it. But I'm really big on mentorship. And so I've dabbled in and out. Like I will learn everything I can from somebody and then go find someone else that they look up to and then keep going. I would say, so May & Co. Creative, she's a luxury travel destination wedding planner. She kind of does like $1 million weddings and up, like very, very luxury. And so I've been learning a lot from her. She actually has her whole program isn't just for wedding planners. It's for any vendors in the wedding space learning how to get into a more luxury market. And I think that Agave has been in that space, but I haven't welcomed it wholeheartedly. And so I think we belong in that space. I think we're great at what we do and we can handle it. I have the systems in place that require the luxury attention, especially when you're dealing with much bigger budgets and usually bigger guest counts. They become more of a production level of a wedding than it does, a small elopement, I will compare it to. So I'm learning from her. I also I read a ton. So I will dabble between numerous books. Right now, I am reading 4,000 Weeks, who is it by? Oliver Berkman. I just posted on my story the other day, but it is like life-changing my whole world. It's called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, because we're all going to die eventually. So it reminds you of that and tells you to not get stuck in the efficiency trap and being so hard on yourself that you don't have to get everything done on your list, because the list is never going to end. And so I'm only like a third of the way through, and I have learned so much from that, and I cannot wait to finish it and see what else it pops up. But right now, those are my 2 biggest learner or teachers, I would say.
Yeah. I saw you post that book and I immediately added it to my, immediately was like, oh, that's for me. Adding that one.
Yeah.
Is that the same one that you
first
were talking
chapter
about? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is that the same one that you were saying is the creativity? That you were?
No.
There's another one. What's that one?
Yeah, so I haven't read that one yet. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but Ethan came to my house and took photos of me with chickens on my head. I don't know if you saw that. He was telling me about this book, so I haven't bought it yet, but I want to read it in its whole entirely. But essentially, he said that it teaches you how to, one, identify what your creativeness is, two, how to pull it out when you don't have it, or like re-engage your creativeness, and to where you can master it, so you can go in and out of your creative space without being forced to do one or the other. So when he said that to me, and I was like, I freaking need that book. So I'll text him and find out the exact name of it, but I don't know exactly the name yet.
Okay, well, we need that info. So yeah, when you get it, I'm gonna
text Ethan right now. I'm gonna be like, what is that? I love Ethan. I'm not sure if you guys have crossed paths.
I feel like I saw these photos. Ethan Beasley. Yeah.
Yep.
I saw them yesterday and I was like, those are cool. I didn't even put it together though. I was just scrolling. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, he I don't know if I posted on Soul Agave, but I posted on my personal story, but he is super into film. I mean, you guys will know more of the terminology than I would of the photography world, but he does digital and film and he loves the film. He doesn't do a lot of studio portrait sessions, and so he's been dabbling and upping his skill in that. And so he called me maybe a week ago and he was like, I have this weird idea, a couple of different ideas. Will you and Ryan be my guinea pigs, essentially? And then I was like, and he wanted to do like weird things, like funky things, funky poses, like whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, can I come to your house because I have more space or whatever? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I was like, I have chickens. I just bought chickens. I'm not sure if that inspires you. And he was like, yeah, actually, like that would be cool. And then he was like, let me see when we get there. And I was like, oh, well, my baby chicks love me. And they were getting a little feisty towards the end, but I was sitting them like on our heads and they would just literally sit there like it was a little nest. And we were just sitting them with them on our heads until they got a little ballsy and they figured out that they can start learning how to fly. So they were like purposely jumping off of our heads onto our shoulders or our laps. They were like, oh, I figured this out. And I was like, great. Now my chickens know how to fly, but it's okay.
Oh, so cute.
Yes. All the random things, but even things like that. Like I'm just, I built this company to be supportive of everybody. And we really embrace everyone being really good at what they do and not stepping on those toes and just providing the space for them to do a really good job at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, he just texted me. Oh, it's The Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
That makes sense.
He also said this dude should be paying me at this point. I've recommended this book to so many people.
Yeah.
Literally. That's hilarious. But I want to read that. So I'm
going to add it to my list too.
Yes. Sorry. I know you said you had another question. I mean, I could chat forever, as you can tell.
I know. No. My very last question is one that our other co-host, meesh, she's not here, but she likes to ask everyone what their first job was. So what was your very first job?
Oh, legal or illegal? No, I'm kidding.
First. So whichever.
So what was my first? I think babysitting was my first like official job. And I say illegal because that was obviously like under the books. Mm-hmm. I think it was babysitting. Yeah. I've been a mama dom forever. That's been my nickname since I was in like middle school. I've always just taken care of everybody. And so it hasn't left. Now I'm a legit mama dom. So, but yes, babysitting, taking care of kids, which I'm still doing to this day.
Love it.
But now they don't go away.
They just stick around forever. I actually, you know what? I actually told my kids like that. I was like, I don't actually care if you live here forever. I actually don't. I think that that's like a society thing that like your kids 100%. Have to like, they have to like leave And it's just like makes you more reliant on more people having to work. It's like it's an economic thing. Like actually I bought this house. When it's paid off, anyone can be here. That's fine. Stay.
Yep. I talked to my kids about so long-term goals. Ryan and I are just hired a realtor to buy us like almost 50 to 100 acres in Costa Rica because we want to build like a compound for generations to be able to have a place to come to, because we've been on this journey, this whole Costa Rica thing. We started Spanish lessons. We are looking at rentals down there. We like whole nine of like why we chose Costa Rica, and we're on this path. And then I started becoming, again, because it's not the first time, super obsessed with my ancestry. And I'm able to track like numerous lineages all the way back to like the 1500s, like numerous lines. And I'm over here, as you can understand, the questions I would ask my ancestors if I could have a conversation with them, or learning about what their life was like. Because I'm not simple. When I start researching something, I go as far deep as I can. So I don't just like look up who's in my lineage. I will then take their name and where they were at the time, and then research what life was like for them during that time. So like I like dive deep to connect with my ancestors in that way. And then I'm in my brain, I'm like, 400, 500 years ago, the only way for them to document their journey was by writing. And if somehow it made it to us, we would have record of it. Nowadays, we have so much technology and everything is documented in some way, shape, or form. I've been dabbling on what is my responsibility to leave behind for 400 years from now. And very odd conversation to have with yourself when I didn't even turn 30 yet. Like I'm still a baby. And I'm like, I'm thinking of that now. And then I talked to Ryan and I'm like, when we go to Costa Rica, and if we're going to do this and we're going to buy this many acres and we're going to have, a sustainable life down there and numerous dwellings, I would say, I go, this has to be like fully documented for our generations to come, to know that this is here we did this in this day and age for you numerous hundreds of years from now, to have a home and have a story and have somewhere to come to. Because I was like, has to be part of, I have to think about it. I don't know why I feel like I have a responsibility to whoever is in my lineage 400 years from now, but I do. So my ridiculous brain is like, how do I do this? What am I going to leave behind? What is my story going to be? What am I going to say? And then Ryan made a joke. He was like, well, they could just look at all of our Instagrams. Like, that's pretty much our lives. And I was like, Instagram does not depict my life. It depicts what everyone thinks my life is like. I was like, and it depicts what I choose to be on there. And I was like, no, I want my lineage to know who I am, not just what they think I was like. And so that's part of my ridiculous journey right now. I was figuring what that looks like. Just added pressure, ladies. Just added pressure.
No big deal. Just like all of your future descendants. No, but that's why I think photography is so strong for me, is important. Because like my grandfather like kept really good track of his photos, and I have a lot of his photos, and they were well labeled. That's kind of why I was asking about your organizational methods, because I think it's so important that if you are going to do something like that, you put it in a way that people can find it easily, understand when and where it was. All of his photos he digitized, and he like put like the years and the places, all that info. And he's not around anymore, so like, but I can still look at those photos and be like, oh, this was 1957 or like whatever. This is who he was with. He put their name in there. Like, just all of that is really important to me. An archival.
I love that so much.
Mindset. Yeah. So I resonate with that. And when you look at
them, doesn't it like bring you there? And you're like, and I don't know, I feel like this weird, we have a visitor. My dog is in here. I have this like weird sense of like, how am I supposed to honor them? I don't know all the things I need to know about them. I don't even know if they were good humans. I don't even know if they deserve to be honored. Do you know what I mean? But like, I feel like I'm part they are part of the reason why I exist. So I owe an homage to that in some way, shape, or form, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's on my personal journey, not business, but it's a tangent for me because I'm like, I called my dad, and we don't have the best or the closest relationship, I would say. And I didn't think he was going to say yes, but I was like, hey, if I map out all of the places of where our ancestors came from and I learn as much as I can, like, will you do like a big, like, month to Italy with me so that we can just dive deep into it together? And he was like, yeah, if you pay for it. I was like, done. I was like, all right, Dad, we're going. But yeah, that's part of my new thing is on a personal level. I'm trying to map all of this out, figure out what information I do want to know, what I don't, what I'm going to do with the information afterwards. Like, all that has to be solidified in my head before I even start on this journey. But I just started figuring all that out. So I'll stay tuned. It might turn into something really cool. I have 9 out of 8 of the lines that I could trace back all come from Italy. So I like have strong roots there. So we're gonna start there.
Yes.
Yes. Well, can't you at that point also get like dual Italian citizenship?
Yeah,
because I know they're like one of them that's a little more lenient on. They're like, you can give us a name. We're good.
Yeah, I had to pay a local genealogist, I think is what they're called. I don't know if I pronounced that word very well. But I found someone locally that I gave them all of the information of my ancestors that I know of, and it's pretty well documented. Like, Italy has a phenomenal register system. So most of their towns in Italy started a register in like 1500, early 1600s. So they have like phenomenal documentation. And most of the people that I know in America that I'm related to already got their dual citizenship. So I kind of have a pathway already figured out for that. And so he's collecting the birth certificate of a few of my ancestors so that I can apply for the dual citizenship. So that's in the works as well. So, and it'll be nice for me, my kids, my dad, we'll all be able to have dual citizenship, which allows us to have a European passport, which allows travel between the European countries to be much easier. And I'm very excited for that because so even on a business level, a personal level, like all the levels, the travel, the history, like it checks off all the buckets for me to be able to be out there. Because I even have a few clients that were like, if you can source different places around the world for us to like have weddings at or do styled shoots or do editorials, like show people what you can do in all these different countries. I was like, hell yeah. Like, let's go. Wouldn't I? You know what I mean? So like on all, like I have so many buckets spinning in my head at so many times. And Soul Agave is still a baby. I mean, we're only 3 years in, but I have a lot of goals and a lot of, I'm hard on myself, so they'll happen, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's all coming to life.
Love it.
Yes. Dude, it's so lovely to talk to you guys today.
Yes. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. I'm like so inspired. I feel like I have my little Post-it note of all of my
yay.
books to read, things to do.
I'm glad I had some nuggets for y'all.
Yes. We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I'm adding these books to my TBR to be done immediately. I'm like in between fantasy series right now, and I'm like, I need some good, like, solid books that are not fantasy related just to give me a buffer. So these sound great. Perfect.
Yes. See, I don't know. I can get into fantasy shows once in a while, but I cannot get through fantasy books. I don't know what it is, but I'll read like a chapter and I'll be like, okay, I don't like this anymore. Like, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because I can't practically apply it to my life. I don't know if it's like I'm in this like weird phase of my life that I don't, because when I used to read fantasy, like growing up, like as a teen, I feel like it was a good way for me to like disconnect and
disassociate.
Like escape what I was going through, you know? And now I'm just like, if it's not something that isn't keeping me present or pushing me forward and I'm learning from it, like there in the moment, like I have like no utter interest in it. But I can like binge watch Vampire Diaries, right? But I'm like, I'm in it. Like, I'm actually was very inspired by Vampire Diaries to start journaling because they put so much in this whole like ancestry thing that I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had the journals of my ancestors. And I know that these vampires are very, very obsessed with journaling and documenting their lives. And those become such a valuable piece to them, even in the whole like witches realm of like spell books or whatever. Like the documented items become such a value, and I think I take that to my personal life of like, if I had that from my ancestors, or is that something I should be leaving behind as a journal, or I don't know how to journal correctly. Like I'm like, oh gosh, here's something else I need to learn. But yeah, I got very inspired by vampires in my ancestry journey.
That reminds me of my grandma made a recipe book for all of us. She
amazing.
Yeah, when I was in middle school, she got in a bad car accident and so had to take some time off work, but she is very busy. She like couldn't just like sit down. So she was like, I'm going to collect all of these recipes from different people in the family, and she
That's amazing.
Wonderful. Like my parents are divorced. She got recipes from my mom. Like other kids had divorced parents.
Dude,
and
that's amazing.
Like, got like recipes from like their other parents and stuff. And so she put together this recipe book, and like a lot of them have like little like stories and like anecdotes with them for like the recipes and where they came from. And I cherish it. It's wonderful.
It's so amazing.
So, but yeah, it reminds me like it doesn't have to be like a journal, like you're saying, like you want to document like this experience of like creating this place for your descendants to come and stuff. So like,
yeah,
it could be so in like so many different variations. Or Jen, like your photos from your grandpa, and like, yeah.
And then you have the choice to be like, I want to continue this on, or I want to do it in my own way, or you know what I mean? I'm just like, but those are prime examples of how important it is to do something of the sense to pass down. And some people will argue, you know, I have so many people in my family because I'm one of the youngest. A lot of the generations above me, like there are a lot of old people in my family, and they're like, I have so much stuff. And I'm like, and they're like, and I don't want to just leave it behind, you know, when we die and you have to just throw all the things away and there's just so much stuff everywhere. And I'm like, I understand that. One, thank you. I appreciate you thinking about that now. Two, I'm like, you guys didn't have the opportunity to digitalize things. I go, you had to physically keep the things in order for it to still exist. I go, but for us, I go, why? I was like, I'm telling all of my relatives, I'm like, pull the things that are important out to you now so that we can digitalize these things and create a system and a structure and a hub for it, whether it's Dropbox or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, do it now, like figure all that out now. So I don't have to, because I don't know what's important to you. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, dude, it's a whole thing. The passing things down it's interesting.
Yeah, but I also feel like that's part of like, as like entrepreneurs too, you're like building something that's bigger than yourself, and like hopefully like, you know, you can pass that down, or you like you kind of created a lineage of something like to pass down. So I think it's all connected.
Yeah, well, and hopefully one day I'll pass down Soul Agave to somebody else.
That'll be exciting. I mean, that's exciting too in its own way. Like, yeah, what happens to our businesses when we're gone? Like, I don't know. That's a whole nother. We can go on a whole nother tangent.
Dude, I can talk about
it's a Flagstaff.
Literally, sorry, I can talk forever. We'll do a session 2 with Mama Dom.
We'll do a part 2.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so down. I'm like, I could talk all the things. I'm like, what if you died tomorrow? What would your business do? That's the question.
That's real.
Like,
that's real. What would happen? And like, where are my passwords? Does everyone know where to find my things? Like, yeah, we'll have to do a part 2.
I don't like forcing people to think about that kind of thing, but the book that I'm reading with 4,000 Weeks is like forcing me to think that way. So I'm like,
no, I'm a Scorpio. Well. It's like, it's all death, rebirth. That's like a thing. So
yeah, it is. Yeah. Fire signs, baby.
Thank you, Dom. It was so lovely to chat with you.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. You can find Dominique at Soul Agave. You can find Amber at Juniper & Co. Photo. And you can find me at Jennifer Linchetsky on Instagram. Don't worry, I included all of that information in the notes so you can find us easily, efficiently. And then I included all the books as well. So everything is there as a resource for you. We hope you enjoyed this episode and all of the conversations. We could seriously talk to Dom for hours about all of the different things. So please join us again for another episode with her at some point. Until then, have a great week and we will see you next Tuesday.